we'll be talking about design thinking. At this point, you've done your secondary research, you have a better understanding of the problem. So we're moving into another sort of process now we call design thinking. And again, we start by collecting a bit of data, but it's not the data, it's not like the previous method of research where you are having it online. This time, we talk to a few people. Remember when you were doing your secondary research, you did a bit of research on the who, so you have an understanding of who is facing that problem apart from you. So the first thing we do is we empathize by trying to find 3 or 4 or 5 of such people and then talking to them. This helps us understand the problem from their perspective. Yes, we do have our own perspective of what the problem is, but we want to hear it from their perspective. At the end of the day, whatever you come up with has to work not just for you, but for other people as well. So it's important to hear their side. And this is the process of design thinking on zoomed out. We empathize, and we're going to be talking about what each of them means. We define, we ideate, we prototype, we test, we gather feedback. And then we, at that point, after doing all that, we either decide to proceed with the idea or kill it, at the last step. So let's talk a little bit about empathizing, because that's the first step. That's the next thing you should do. And I've talked about what you have done so far. At this point, what we have are still assumptions, I guess, because we were seated behind a laptop. We were just scrolling the internet, trying to learn more. It's time that we sort of try and validate that whatever we got is actually the situation on the ground. We need to involve real people and conduct that kind of research. And I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. Empathizing is all about imagining yourself, if you're not the one, imagining that you're the one facing this challenge. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? What is your thought process? When do you wake up? It's putting yourself literally in the shoes of the person going through this challenge. It's only when you do this that you're able to see things through their lens, and then even able to come up with ideas that could potentially work for them. Have you ever met somebody who presents a solution to you, and then you realize that this solution can never work because this solution, first of all, is so far away from your reality, is far away from what you're going through, that the solution and the problem do not even marry? That happens a lot when the person coming up with the idea does not sit down and look at the challenge from your lens, does not look at the challenge from the lens of the person going through the problem. Therefore, when they come up with whatever idea they will come up with, it's so disconnected that it can't work. So we want to dodge that bullet by ensuring that we empathize, we imagine ourselves as a person going through that challenge. We step into their shoes, we feel the pain, we feel the frustration, we see the goals of this person. That's the way we are able to come up with something that is realistic. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, seeing the world from their perspective, discovering what they really need, not just looking at them like a stranger, somebody who's just, I'm here, you're there. Nah, it can't work like that. If you're to come up with solutions that really make an impact, you have to discover the real needs, even under what they're saying. Yes, you may have an idea of the problem, but coming closer, empathizing, stepping into the shoes of the person you're building for helps open another world. If you skip this step, as I've said, you'll come up with ideas that don't just work. You'll be biased when you're coming up with your designs. If you're building for people who maybe live in a refugee camp and you have never lived in a refugee camp, you've always lived in a big mansion. Of course, when you're coming up with a solution for these people, you're going to be biased. You've never been there, right? So it's important that you don't skip this step. Empathy ensures that solutions are desirable, that problems are correctly framed, because that's the other thing. It's very easy to come up with a problem that's not actually the problem, right? From your research, you could deduce that the problem is this, while in fact it was something else. Empathy helps us because now we are talking to the real people on the ground, right? And talking to real people on the ground, it emphasizes it helps reinforce what the problem actually is, what the need on the ground is. When we conduct empathy, we do it by first of all trying it ourselves. Again, imagining that you are the person going through this challenge, you immerse yourself in the experience. You can do what they do. You can experiment. In a nutshell, you can experiment. The other thing is that you can observe. Remember, we are on the ground. We are on the ground. The best way to collect data on the ground, first-hand data, is through things like experimentation, observation, interviewing. That's where we ask questions now, and that's one of the best ways. Sitting down with somebody who is actually facing this problem and asking them some questions. I'm going to show you the kind of questions, just to guide you on questions you should ask. Trying and looking and asking, and that's very important. So it's all about getting out of your hostel, getting out of the library, and meeting real people. And the objective is to gather information about the users through such methods. You spend some time in that community, you interview, one-to-one conversation with the users. It really opens up things that you did not even think about. I can't tell you from personal experience how many times I've thought that this is the problem, but I've gone to the ground, talked to the people who are facing the problem, and listening to them, it just opens another world. They tell me things that I did not even consider, and this helps direct my energy, direct my attention to the things that matter. So interviews are very important. Observing, seeing what they struggle with, seeing what they do about the problem, it really helps. You can also do surveys and focus groups. These are essential especially surveys are essential when you want to collect ton of data in very limited time, and you have potentially these massive groups that are already in groups that you're targeting. You can send them surveys, and that's going to be a very quick way to collect massive amounts of data. I think I've talked about talking to people, and who do you know who to talk to? I mean, how do you know who to talk to? Because you can't just go and talk to everyone on this planet, right? So you need to know, who am I going to talk to about this problem? Who's going to help me? Who's going to give me insights that matter, right? Because not everybody's going to give you the insights that matter. The first, I think for me, what I do is create a map of the people I need to talk to. I call it a stakeholders map. And a stakeholders map just includes all the people that are necessary to have a conversation with. The first people that are necessary are, of course, people like me who are facing the problem, right? So if it's a problem among university students, then the first people I should talk to, apart from talking to myself, are university students. So I put that down. People directly impacted by the challenge, I put that down. I need to talk to those people. Then I need to talk to people who are offering some form of support. Remember, sometimes you might find, I don't know about the problem you're solving, you may find that there are people already trying to fix that problem on the ground. It could be an NGO. It does help to talk to those NGOs because they may offer insights. Remember, they're the people working on the ground. If your problem has such people, for example, you're doing something about kids in Kibera, there are a lot of NGOs in Kibera. So apart from just talking to the parents in Kibera, you can also talk to the NGOs that are doing something about that problem on the ground. You can talk to activists if your problem has activists in that area. Maybe it's something about the law, it's something about a policy. So you may find there are activists out there around that particular policy. Then it does help to talk to the activists, because for them to be activists, there's something that they know, right? So it's good to talk to them. You can talk to policymakers. You can talk to people funding solutions around that challenge. For example, if you're talking about if you're trying to solve, I don't know, low crop yields in Mandera, maybe things are, crops are not growing. There are so many NGOs, there are so many donors like GIZ or Mastercard, funding solutions in that around that in Kibera, right? They have been doing that for a while now. For them to fund, to give their money to solutions that are going to, I don't know, alleviate this problem, it means that they already have their own data, and they are more than willing to talk to people like you who are trying to solve something. So people funding solutions around that challenge are also people you can talk to, right? So this is what I call a stakeholders map, because when you're doing empathy, you're talking to real people, right? You don't want to talk to the whole planet. It just helps to have narrowed down the people that you need to talk to. Talk to as many people as possible, and when you meet them, they think they are do's and don'ts. Remember, you need to be humble. You need to be a person that, for example, you need to be presentable when you're coming to talk to me. Some of these people are CEOs. Some people don't have a lot of time to give you. They only have like 10 minutes. So you need to have your affairs in order. When you approach them, don't say, I'm here to save the day. I don't know, I'm Superman or something, or I have these brilliant ideas. That's not the way to approach such a conversation. Don't tell them I've done my research, because they'll be like, okay, why do you need me? So all you're doing is trying to gather information. Remember, you're like a baby, you're like a kid. You're just here to learn as much as possible, not even to reaffirm, not to confirm what you found out during your secondary research. This is the point where you just sit and listen, because you're trying to hear something that you have never heard before. Get to know the people facing the problem. Just get to know them, right? So listen. Don't try to force some context. Just listen, and you'll be amazed at the things that you discover.